Well, hello. How are you all tonight? I'm Kathleen Walker with New England Endurance Event, and we're here tonight to talk about the Hyannis 2 and all of the different changes that we have for COVID. So I appreciate you guys are all on mute. Much appreciated. I think that you should be able to take yourself off if you need to say something or put it in the chat and I'll answer that later. Oh, I just heard somebody. So if you wouldn't mind just being muted until you've got something that you need to get off your chest, and then in which case chat, or you can, or by all means say it. So we're going to run through some things tonight. I'll be sharing my screen as I did a minute ago while you guys were getting on. So I'll kind of be going through that, so you don't have to just see me the whole time. We're going to start off with information that's new for this year. So you might have done Hyannis 2 for many, many years. I know there's a number of you out there that have done that, but this year we have some changes because of COVID. So we'll run through that first. And that way, if you don't want to stay on, you don't have to. And then we'll move on to those people who maybe haven't done a Hyannis before. And so you're a triathlete, but you haven't done this race. So we'll kind of run through, here's what these things look like for us. And then lastly will be those, we'll have a whole section for newbies. So if you are new to triathlon and you're like, what did I get myself into? We'll go through all that. We'll explain ins and outs and how things work and what things you should be careful of and what things you don't have to worry about. So those of you that are veterans, you don't have to stay through all that. You might want to, in which case, hey, glad to be your entertainment, but you certainly don't have to. All right, I'm going to start by sharing my screen. And there we go. So everything that we have here is in the athlete's guide. And the easiest way to get to the athlete's guide is hyannistriathlon.com. It will bring you to our website, but like onto the Hyannis page. In there is a link for the athlete's guide. And for anybody that maybe you can only be on for a little bit tonight, but you really want to see, you just want to see more, we will have this, this is recording at the moment, we hope, and we'll put it on to our YouTube channel, which will go be posted on social media and in that athlete's guide. So if either you're not able to stay on or you have a friend that said, gosh, I missed that, then just send them to our social media or our website, and you'll be able to get this video once again. All right, so let's start off with changes for this year. Now, if you've done Hyannis 1, you'll see a lot of the same adjustments that we had to make. Starting with Friday packet pickup, it's actually drive-through. We did that for Hyannis 1 and for Falmouth, and Hyannis 1 worked really great. We're going to do that again. It helps us stay a little bit farther away from you guys, and actually was a pretty good experience, I think, all around. If you know that you're going to have an issue like, oh, I need to get that one day, that USAT one day, go ahead and park, and then you can walk over. The help desk will be set up. You can go right over there. Otherwise, you'll drive through and one of the volunteers will tell you which way to go, and we'll ask your name. You'll get your ID. So make sure you have your ID. Because of COVID, we're allowed to accept more than one ID. So if you're picking up your packet for yourself and your spouse or your friend or what have you, as long as you've got that ID with you, then we can do that. As soon as by next year, hopefully COVID will be completely gone. Then we'll go back to the way that USAT has kind of enforced over the years. So, but right now you're good. So just make sure you have your ID. The race clinic that we've had for a number of years, I think since 2017, that's been done by our very own Trish Cundiff, who is the owner of AquaSafe swim programs, wonderful programs, by the way, adult and kids swimming. She has her race clinic at 5:30. So that will be right there kind of behind the lines near transition. So if you want to do that at 5:30, no problem. Just find a place to park that's like not in the way of those trying to get their packets, and then come on over. She usually has swimming afterwards, as long as the it's not terrible waves or something like that. So if you want to swim, no problem. It is at your own risk, but you have a chance to kind of get out into the water a little bit. That's usually great. Also want to mention, when you're in that drive-through, we do have disposable masks. So if you want to wear a mask going to the swim start, because as much as we would really like you guys to be 6 feet apart from each other, it just doesn't happen on race morning. Everyone wants to be as close to that swim start as they can, even if their wave's not going off for a little bit. So in that case, if you feel more comfortable wearing a mask, we appreciate that. We will have a garbage can there. If you don't see a garbage can, put it by my feet and I'm going to pick it up and throw it out. So just ask for that disposable mask when you pick up your packet, and we have a whole collection. Speaking of packet pickup, because this year's race is on 9/11. We do want to be able to recognize our first responders and military, that's active duty, retired, or veteran. So if you are a military, past, present, future, or first responder, if you'll let us know, we'll ask you at packet pickup. But let us know. We have something special for you, and you have your own places to rack your bikes. So we'll go through that a little bit. Swim start. If you did Hyannis 1, you got to start your swim at the Craigville Beach Club. I'll show you a picture of it in just a minute. It's where we normally go on the left, but then you just keep going a little bit farther. And what that means is that the Olympic swim is only one loop. So that is really great news for the Olympic distance swimmers. So I think you guys will like that. Transition, because of COVID, we're trying to keep you guys a little farther apart. It's only 6 bikes per rack. That means 3 on one side, 3 on the other side. So if you can do that, that would be much appreciated. And the pre-race meeting, these are a lot of COVID changes that some of them we're going to kind of stick to that have worked better than I expected. The pre-race meeting is going to be at 6:30 a.m. and it'll be inside of transition. So I'll just grab the microphone from our announcer, and while you guys are finishing up your transition, getting everything together before you go to the beach, I will give announcements. And then after that, everyone's going to start, a lot of the Olympics will start heading out, and the sprinters have a little bit more time. As I mentioned, there is special racks for military members and first responders. I'll show you where those are in a minute. All right, so there's a little bit left as far as COVID changes, and these I'm not as happy about. Post-race, there'll be no yoga. So I love the post-race yoga. We are not going to have it this time. This is all crowd control. There will only be pre-packaged foods. After the race, we do not have anything that, like a Subway, where you'd have to open it up, or it'd be handled by somebody else. And there's no award ceremony. Now, what we have been doing is any winners overall or category will receive an email. It's going to take us a couple of weeks because we have 3 races in a row this month. So I appreciate patience, but you will eventually get an email with an award certificate, and then you'll get a gift code. It will either be Zone 3 for $25, or it will be to one of our sprints or Olympics. It's I believe it's 20% off. So either way, it's a win-win, but you don't have to be through the award ceremony. Something else that looks like is not on my list, but is very important and does have to do with COVID again, is spectators. We are not encouraging spectators. We really just can't have those crowds. So if you have a loved one that wants to just be right there in the action, we could still use some volunteers. So if you go to the registration page, there is an option for volunteering. Just click on that category and you'll be all set. And that way you can be more part of the action. If your spectator just wants to stand on the side of the road, as long as they stay off the road, and cheer you on that way, that's fine. Or on the beach, that works too, just away from athletes, please. And that includes the finish line. In Hyannis 1, we had a lot of spectators that Relatively so. There was only a few spectators there, but they were all at the finish line. And so when anyone came out, they were bombarded by, other people's germs. So if you could, if you do have a spectator that had been over at the on the road or on the beach while you are racing and you finish, walk out of that finish chute and step away onto the beach. That way they can congratulate you there away from everybody else. That would be much appreciated. All right. So I told you that I was going to show you the swim start. So if you look over here to the top left of your screen, there's swim start. So this is the Craigville Beach Association, and they have graciously allowed us to use their beach once again. So we are we much appreciate that. So you can see where the corrals used to be for last year. This is where they were. Now we're going to be a little farther over, and the Olympics are going to come out here, and they're going to swim around. There'll be yellow buoys. I'll show those in a minute. And then they're going to make a turn and they're going to come back around and finish. Now my screen, I see you guys and I don't see the red arch, but it is over in that right corner. So they'll go around and then they'll run on the beach. I mentioned to you that the military and first responders have their own racks, and they have prime location, of course. And so for the sprint distance, they're going to be here, and the Olympic distance, they're going to be here. We do have a paratriathlete, and he'll have his own rack, which will be before these guys. But either way, you're going to have your own rack. So look for those. If you are not either military or first responder, then please just rack somewhere else. You can open racking. You can rack wherever you like. 6 people per rack. And Albert, I think that your mute is off. If you wouldn't mind putting that on, I appreciate it. As I mentioned, the spectators, they can park themselves. They can watch it from all along here on the side. They can be out here on the beach, no problem, but let's just stay out of the area over here where it tends to get a little more congested. All right. All right. Before we get to for those that haven't raced Hyannis, I'm going to unshare my screen and take any questions. I see that there's a number of questions in the chat.
You want me to jump here?
Now I got it right here. So, sorry about that, Chuck. We will we'll work on that. HyannisTriathlon.com is not working. So Andy's going to work on that in just a minute and make sure that links properly.
Mark Oliver posted the link to the athlete's guide.
There we go. Sorry, Andy's over here in the background. He's going to come on in a minute. Okay, so Chuck, if you look a little farther down, it says mark to anyone, and there's the link right there. So let's use that one. That will be your best bet. It's also in all the emails. We keep sending you guys emails, and it's in there too. Assigned a spot in transition. Nope, it's open racking, Pat. So you can park your bike anywhere you want, except for where it says either paratriathlete. There's a couple of teams that have enough people to get their own racks. So if it says Cape Cod Triathlon or something like that, then if you can let them have those racks, and then first responder and military will have their own racks. Otherwise, you've got like 80 other racks you can choose from. So anywhere that works best for you. Hours of packet pickup. Remember, this is all in the athlete's guide, but the packet pickup is 5 to 7 on Saturday. Sorry, Friday. You're right. If you do it Saturday, it's not going to work out. So Friday, you want to packet pickup Friday or Saturday morning. And Saturday morning, I believe, check the athlete's guide to be safe. I think that we've got a transition opening at 5:30, which means you can pick up your packet at that time. Margie asked, how many participants do we have? We're at like 650 right now.
700.
Oh, we're at 700. Never mind. Take it back. 700. So our max is 750. So if you have friends that said, oh, I'm going to do the race and I'm going to sign up race morning, they might not be able to get in. So let them know that. Online registration closes tomorrow at 5 p.m. So that's Wednesday at 5 p.m. Or they can come Friday night, might be a better way of getting in than waiting till Saturday morning. The swim start. So Lauren asked about the swim start, and I'm going to go into that in a little more detail in a minute. What we've been doing through COVID that has worked well for different reasons than we expected was it's a rolling swim start. So it's like some races will do like a time trial, but it's within your wave. So if you are 20 to 29-year-old men, then You're all going to be in the corral, but only 3 of you are going to go off at a time every 10 seconds. And that actually clears the water pretty well for everyone going in. They kind of liked not having that washing machine effect. It also, for some reason, the swim start seems to move a little faster. So that's a good thing too. But the idea is to keep you guys a little more separated, although that part doesn't work as well as we like. But it will be every 10 seconds and a minute between each wave. Professional photographers are out there. We actually have 2 sets of photographers. So we have, I can't think of their name, Capstone. There we are, Capstone Photos. They're out there. They're usually wearing tie-dye shirts. Any photos that they take, they're going to make available to you online. It usually takes almost a week. They will send you an email that will have a link to your personal photos. If you miss that email, sometimes they go in junk mail, then we'll post on social media that we'll just send you the general link will be posted there, and then you'll go in there and just put your name in. So you can purchase any of those photos. They're usually good. They're very specific. They're just for you. And then we have our own promotional photographer that we've had at our races since 2017. And he's wonderful, but those photos aren't for purchase. They will end up on social media, our website, possibly other promo stuff. At some point in the next couple of years, will probably take that long. I would love to be able to send everybody their photo on their birthday. I don't know if that will happen, and certainly not this year, but something to shoot for. Let's see, wetsuits. So Samantha asked about wetsuits, if wetsuits are optional. Wetsuits are always optional up to 78 degrees, and it's not going to be 78 degrees out there. After 78 degrees, they're not possible if you want to be, if you want your time to count. So it's not going to be cold enough. We've never had a race that was a mandatory wetsuit. It just, our waters typically don't get cold enough for that to be an issue. So if you want to wear a wetsuit, go for it. Yeah. So Anthony was making sure that photographers are out there. They are out there and they're great. The aqua bike ends at transition pad. So for those that are doing the aqua bike, once you come in on the bike and you cross that mat, you're done. So if you want to go into the finish corral and like into the finish chute, I should say, and get your picture taken, so you're crossing the finish line, that's great, no problem. If you don't want to, that's fine too. If you just want to go around and get some food, that's great. Whatever works for you. Some of the aqua bike athletes will actually run after, but maybe they'll only run halfway, or they'll go at their own pace. That's fine too. Whatever works for you. Your race ends once you cross the timing mat with your bike. We do have bike support that will be in or around the transition area, and they are not on the course. So usually bike support's on the course for a much longer race. For our races, if you have an issue out on the course, you got to know how to change your own tire. It's usually the issue that comes up. Or you drop a chain, you got to know how to do that. Or you can walk your bike in. But there is bike support at the race near transition. Jim was asking about large waves or riptide due to the storm that's offshore. We are always monitoring the water conditions. We're triathletes, we're swimmers. We would never put you in any kind of danger. We never put you in a situation that we wouldn't be in ourselves as swimmers. So know that we are right on top of that, and always in communication with the harbor master as well. Athlete parking for the GPS, go to the athlete's guide. I think that we have that in there somewhere. There's a little restaurant, like outdoor restaurant, that's right across the street called the Barnacle. If you put that in your GPS, you'll be able to get there. Oh, speaking of that, there's parking right by the beach. There's a big parking lot, and there's a parking lot across the street. You can park in either one. The one that's across the street will be if you are a sprint athlete and you're going to want to get out before the race ends, your best bet is to be in that parking lot across the street.
The GPS address is in the athlete's guide, and it's 997 Craigville Beach Road.
So 997 Craigville Beach Road. Until Andy's got to come on this side of the camera, though, doesn't he? He's like
right,
telling me from there.
Let me bail you out here.
No, you're not bailing me out anything. All right, here he comes. So how are the swim waves assigned, and when, Hannah, as soon as registration closes, I can actually set those swim waves. Can't do it until I've got everybody, until I know all the ages and so forth. So I will be doing that tomorrow night. And then I will post that in the athlete's guide, so you'll see what the swim waves are there. And then of course you'll find out when you pick up your packet. The dropping bikes the night before, no. But we'll go into that a little bit more when we hit our next section of our presentation. And the newbies, you have to sign up for a newbie. We can fix that at a later point. Cell phone attached with music, no music. No AirPods. Thank you, Margie, for reading the athlete's guide. At no point do you have, are you to wear any kind of earbuds or headphones or anything else. No phone. The only exception is if there's a woman that's pregnant, I'd like her to have a way of being able to communicate if she's out in the course and needs something. Other than that, no one else needs a phone.
That's not our rule. That's USA Triathlon's
right,
rule. Right.
It totally is. And then I fudge it a little bit for somebody that I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm worried about that one. The sharks, no sharks. I'll show you our little map. Again, there's a whale, no sharks. We don't have any sharks in that water. So you'll be safe. Packet pickup will tell you what wave. It will not tell you the time you're supposed to be on the beach once we say everybody on the beach for your distance. And you're going to be there until your wave goes off. So you will know the wave number at that point. Thank you for Terry. I don't know if you guys are following the chat as well. I'm just kind of going down the list. So if you want to follow along, it gives you something to do. The town of Barnstable is the wastewater management plan. The Craigville Beach Road. I don't expect it to affect the run. Andy will be out there tomorrow. So if there's anything to report, we'll let you know. The packet pickup is Friday from 5 to 7, or it is race morning. And that is check the athlete's guide for any other information. The roads are not closed to vehicles. The police try to deter people. If someone doesn't need to be on the road, then they shouldn't be, but that doesn't really, someone wants to be driving on the road while you're on there, that's what's going to happen. So you need to be mindful of vehicles on the bike and the run.
The police do a remarkable job of closing the roads without saying they've closed the road. So basically you'll see very little traffic. On the other hand, you always have to be prepared. For one thing, there are residents who may back their car out of a driveway to go get the newspaper that morning, and they happen to be located on the course. So you do have to stay aware.
Yep. And if you are allergic to latex, no problem. You can wear your own swim cap. And Terry, you said that there was a question that I missed. I think that was just because I went back to it just a second ago.
I was going to go to the top because there were a couple that you missed.
Did I? Shoot.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
I can tell you.
I don't know. I think I got them all. How many participants do we have? I already answered that. Swim time staggered. Yep, I went through all that. Okay, so Andy's going to go through the chat and see if there's anything else that I might have missed. And so in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and go to our next little section. All right, so if you haven't raced Hyannis before, here's the lay of the land. So this is the sprint swim right here with our little arrows, and that's starting over at the beach club to the left of transition. Here's your bike course. This is for sprint. So your bike course, you go up to the lights here, you'll keep going through. There's police, you can see, there's police all over at every intersection. And you'll come around. This is like the prettiest view. You'll come back over to transition, and then your run is going to go around. It does a lollipop loop here. And there is a water stop that's around mile 2. That will be small water bottles. It's considered an unmanned table. There's probably will be a volunteer that will be hanging around there somewhere, but they're not handing you water bottles. You need to pick it up from the table, just trying to reduce that contact. Once you drink your water, there are garbage cans that are going to be spread out a little bit. It's like every 50 yards or something like that for the next few.
20, 50, 100 yards down from the water table. So depending how fast you run is when you throw the
Right. So there's a few there for the slower runners to the faster runners. And so if you wouldn't mind just smushing it up and throwing it away, that would be really helpful. So someone doesn't have to pick up something you've had in your mouth. And if you are still sipping on it along the way, if you wouldn't mind just hanging on to it till you get closer to transition, and then you can throw it away when you finish, that would be appreciated. All right, so that's the sprint course. And you see, I don't remember who it was asking about sharks. See, we have a whale tail, no sharks. So, all right, so this is the Olympic course. So it looks very much the same as the sprint, except for you're doing loops. So first off with the swim, again, it's at the beach club, and you're only doing one loop, but you are going a bit farther out and then you're coming around. I'll show you the red arch if you're not familiar with it, so you'll know where to come in. On the bike, you're going to go out, follow the same course that the sprinters are doing, but you're going to make a left before, this is a hill here, you're going to make a left before that, and you're going to take Bay Lane. Once you get to the end of Bay Lane, you're going to make a left back onto the course. So one thing to be aware of is that there are other people that are going straight there. So you need to be able to merge with them. So be mindful that there's probably somebody else coming along on that road. So make sure to look right as you're making your left. If you are on the course and you're passing the section by Bay Lane, be mindful that people might be coming from that road. So you just want to stay over on, to the right of your lane, so that way you're giving them room, so that way they can come on. We don't want any kind of bike accident there. Remember, if you're on your first loop or you're at sprint, you're just going straight there. You're not turning down there. You'll then come back into transition, and then you'll make the run. You'll do the same course, except you're going to turn around right here. There'll be a sign in the middle of the road, big yellow sign that says do a loop, turn around there. So you'll hit that water stop at mile 2, and then ends up being around mile 4-ish.
Right. So do not make a right turn onto a Strawberry Hill Road for your second loop. You keep running toward along Craigville Beach Road, heading for the beach, and you look for that yellow U-turn sign. There'll be a U-turn sign, a big U-turn sign, and there'll be a big run finish sign. Sprinters, of course, will just head for run finish, but Olympic athletes, that U-turn sign is where you turn around and head back to do that loop over again.
All right, let's see where we're at. There we go. So, so for those that haven't raced with us before, these are the flags that you're going to be looking for. This is swim start, clearly. Bike out will look like this. So the swim start is yellow flags. Bike out, run out are green flags. And then you can see here how we walk our bikes in transition, and then there will be mount sign right onto the road. And then there we are. And there's the bike in sign. So again, the mount is on the road, and then you'll run your bike in to transition. And then for the Olympic distance swimmers, these are the buoys that you're looking for. So they are big and they're triangle. The sprint, what?
Well, you will turn at triangles. If you're an Olympic athlete, when you see a yellow triangle, that means you're going to be making a turn, leaving the buoy to your right. You will also see conical, that is sort of roundish shaped yellow buoys sticking up in the air. There's 4 of them as you go along the course, and those are just to go straight. They're marking buoys so you can kind of find your line. But you only go straight by those conical buoys, and you turn at every single triangle or buoy.
There you go. All right. So here's a better view. This is what you'll see for the Olympic turn buoys. Now, if you're in the sprint distance, these are the buoys you're going to look for. These are orange, they're round, they're closer to the shore, and they're where everyone else is going. So you're going to keep those on your right. The course does go counterclockwise. There we go. So there you
You
are.
mean clockwise?
Oh, sorry, clockwise. Sorry, you're going clockwise. Don't listen to me. All right, and this is the swim finish. So you'll come out of the water, you're going to run along the beach, and then you're going to run into transition here. So when you're sighting, if you're looking for the red arch, you'll be fine. After you get into the transition area, we do have the pools for you to be able to wash your feet. If you like to, you can step into those. That's up to you. All right, and so that's what makes the those that are seasoned triathletes but haven't done Hyannis. Those would be the things for you to look for. And as Andy brought up, if you don't want to go to hyannistriathlon.com, we should have changed that. If you look back in your chat, you'll find Mark Oliver had given at 7-Eleven, if it helps you to find it. There's actually a link there with the athlete's guide.
Or check your emails. Hopefully you got emails with that.
Should have had a lot of emails, so you might be able to find that. Okay. So body marking, thanks for bringing that up, Evan. We will have body marking folks out there. If you do not want somebody touching your skin with a marker and you want to do it yourself, that's no problem. We'll have some markers that will be on the table that'll be near the body markers. So that way you can have a friend mark you or mark yourself. That's not a problem. If you go to the athlete's guide, you'll see exactly where we'll want those marks on you. Wearing a camel back during the bike is fine. No problem at all. You can do that if that makes you happier.
Try that in practice. I tried it in one race during my rookie season, and I said, I'll never do that again. But that may have just been me. So if it works for you in practice, stay with it. Did you answer the question about latex swim caps?
Yeah, I did that one before. All right. So second loop, no one's going to tell you when your second loop is coming up. You got to be able to count that one. Mm-hmm. So you'll do one loop. We showed you the course. You can also find the map on the athlete's guide. You're going to do one loop and you're going to see Bay Lane, and there's going to be people standing there that are shouting at you that's where you make the loop. But it's up to you to go, oh, this is I need to make that loop. No one's going to say, who you're supposed to make the loop, just this is where you do it. So if you're an Olympic distance athlete, you'll want to make that left onto Bay Road. There'll be people standing there shouting at you in order to do that.
Also, we have a sign about 100, 150 yards before that left turn. That is the size of a sheet of plywood. It's 4 feet by 8 feet. You can't miss it. And that indicates that the Olympic athletes for their second loop will be making a left up ahead.
Okay. So the race results, we do like a printout, and you can go there to the little terminal and do that, but that's touching, which is something that we're trying to avoid. So Millennium Running is our timer, and that name is on their truck. So if you go to their website, and we'll announce it a few times, they'll have up to the minute race results will be showing on their site. So you'll be able to see that.
Oh, the TV screens too, right?
They didn't do the TV screens in Hyannis or Falmouth because of crowds. So usually when they put out the screens, everyone stands right there to be able to see it. And then that's creating crowds. We don't want that. So you'll have to go to their website on your phone. All right. So we've got the volunteers helping with wetsuit removal. No, Annette, sorry. The Ironman, usually at an Ironman race, there's somebody that will help you get your wetsuit off. In this case, it is all on you. So if you have trouble getting off your wetsuit, then consider that, do you want to wear it or not? If it takes you 5 minutes to get the darn thing off, which sometimes it does for me, then, I might consider not wearing it because it's going to take me too long. On the other hand, some people find that the buoyancy is well worth the struggle to get it off. That's up to you. I will explain relays in just a few minutes for anyone who hasn't done that before. That will be in our newbie section. Thank you, Chuck. We enjoy you racing with us too. Let's see. I kept, Terry just corrected me. She said, I kept saying Bay Road. It is Bay Lane, not Bay Road. All right. So we're going to move on to the next part of the newbies if we don't have any other questions that have come in. And actually, before we do, I don't want to forget, one of our athletes, it was actually in Hyannis, one of our young athletes, and he had gotten in a bike accident, and it totaled his bike. And he's a struggling triathlete. He's trying to be able to go to college on a triathlon scholarship, and that's been a struggle because because of the bike damage and all. If any of you men, if you have a tri bike that you're like, oh, this is my old tri bike and I just got this new one, and you're willing to either donate or sell at a good price, your bike, I think he's about 6 feet tall. So you think about like that size bike, just send me a message, an email or something like that. And I would love to be able to match you up with this athlete's dad. So it's that his dad does some really great things with the triathlon community for youth. And this is an amazing kid we've had since he was 13. So if anyone can, that would be excellent.
We should mention that he's not just aspiring for a college scholarship. He has been awarded a college scholarship for triathlon.
He's hoping to keep it though.
But he can't keep it without a bike. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. So if anyone, I mention it because we've got such a great community of triathletes here, and there might be someone that says, oh yeah, I got a bike that's been sitting in my garage for a while. So we appreciate that if that's something that works out for you. All right. Somebody mentioned the USAT system. And so I'll mention that to all of you. If you're having trouble with your USAT number, maybe you have an annual and you can't get our system to validate it, you are not alone. Sometimes it's there's a bunch of people, like when you put in your birth date, it didn't quite go in. We end up with a different month. And so that will kick it back out. But sometimes it's just the USAT system. So they just put in a new membership system a few months ago. And unfortunately for all of us, they did it right at the beginning of the season and they're still working out the kinks. So sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. If you're having trouble with it, please don't spend a terrible amount of time. Just bring your USAT card with you to pack and pick up, and we'll be able to just check you off and say, oh yeah, this matches, no problem. So please do that. If you try to get a 1 day, if you can, that will save you going into 2 different lines if you need that 1 day pass. So if you can do that online, you're going to be better off. If not, just bring $15 cash and we'll go ahead and take care of that when you pick up your packet. This is being recorded and it will be posted on social media and the Athlete's Guide.
A question about how much stuff do you have in the transition area, like shoes, water?
Here, I was going to save that for newbies.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't
so,
forget it.
All right. So Andy's going to remind me about that one. So the other one, the question about the race results will not be printed. They will not be there. You will have to go to the Millennium website. So their name is on the trailer, which will be right there by transition. It'll be easy to be able to look at that and type it in. So there was some other question about the USAT, and I'm just going to say USAT membership right now is just kind of a mess. And so please bear with them and bear with us. And then any other questions we're going to save for newbie. So if you are not a new athlete, then by all means, have a nice night. If you want to stay on, we'd love to have you. But now we're going to switch over to answering questions for those athletes that are doing their first triathlon. All right. So let me answer. So having said that, let me start with the newbies.
I want to answer the how to change in transition area.
Do you want to take that one? Okay. All right. So you take that.
No, you want
No, it was a place to change in transition.
places to change.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we no longer strip down in transition. Used to years ago, there would be like nude people in transition. I mean, like literally, because you didn't have the same kind of clothing we have now. You'd have to take off those sweatpants. It was just terrible. So now you don't change. Whatever you're wearing in your swim essentially is what you're going to be wearing for the rest of the race. So think that through carefully when you're planning out your swim. If you don't have like a little tri kit, which is shorts, the stretchy shorts that have the little cushion, and a shirt that's a little bit tighter for the swim, then maybe you're wearing a swimsuit and then you're going to throw on a pair of loose shorts or bike shorts for the bike, and you're going to switch those for the run. You could do that, but you definitely want a swimsuit or something. Even if you're wearing a wetsuit, you'd still have a swimsuit under there. So there is nowhere to change unless you want to go into the building, which is up to you. It makes your transition very long, but if you're more comfortable that way, then that's up to you. All right. What other questions do we have that were more new athlete related? Let me make sure. I'm going to back up just a little bit and make sure to answer any of those questions.
Well, there's the question about the transition area and what to have there and how much stuff. And that also could lead us to talk about when people have like a backpack and stuff. All
right. So let's go. I'm going to go through some slides because some of that's going to show what Andy's talking about. So before we were talking about race numbers. So the body marking is right here. So you'll have somebody that will be marking you, or you can mark yourself. And your bib number, which you won't know till you pick up your packet, is going to go down vertically down your arm. You're also going to have on your right calf is going to be your age. If you're in relay, then you're going to say relay. They'll put an R. If you're doing aqua bike, they might put an A or they might put a Q. Either way, it's an indication that that's aqua bike. And anybody else, you can put your age. You don't necessarily have to tell the truth about your age, but that's where you put the age. So that way when you are biking or running behind somebody and you find that they're in your age group, then you have to work a little bit harder to get past them. So it's just for everybody else that's behind you, but it is required. All right. So the transition, we are talking about only 6 racks per bike, and that's 3 racks on each side. And it should go
6 bikes per rack.
6 bikes per rack, right?
6 racks per bike.
Oh, is that what I said? Sorry about that. 6 bikes per rack. And they're going every other. So if you have one bike facing in one direction, towards the beach, the next bike is facing towards the road. So you'll hear me go through transition going every other, and that's what we mean. And that way it's less likely that your bike is going to be knocked over by somebody next to you because your handlebars hit. I'm going to show you in just a sec what you put by your bike. So all of the stuff that you bring with you is going here. It's going to go right by your bike, and your bike is being racked by the seat. And I think I've got a picture of that. So in this transition area, you'll see that this is on the road side. That's the Olympics. And then over on the beach side are the sprints. So you are separated depending on your distance. And then, as I mentioned very early on in our discussion, the first responders and military members that would like to rack in the prime locations will have a rack closer to registration here, and then also on the Olympic side. So let's save those for military and first responders. Hang on a second. I just want to make sure that we don't have any. Are there any other questions relating to transition?
Well, yeah, there's a few different ones. Yes, you can have a messenger bag on your bike. You really can have anything you want. My first triathlon, I saw a little old lady with a picnic basket on the front of hers, and that was really cool. Time limit per sport. No, we do not say, sorry, your race is over at various spots. We've had some people take a long time to finish the race, that's perfectly fine. As long as the police don't tell us to pull someone off, and they haven't ever, I believe, then we're good with it. We'll be there for you.
Right. We don't take down the transition area until the last athlete came through. So, so don't worry about that. You don't have to wear a shirt during the swim.
Unless you're a professional triathlete, it's a rule for them, but
Sure.
everybody else, you don't have
Right.
to.
But if they were, they wouldn't be asking. So there you go. So, all right. And the messenger bag, keep in mind though, if you've got anything bulky on particularly on the back of your bike, and how that might affect you having to get that bike up on the bike rack. So if you can be mindful of that. May you share to rack bike via seat and not handlebars. I'm not completely sure what you mean, Terry, but let me answer what I think you mean. The bikes are always racked by the seat, never the handlebars. That is a USAT rule. It's also to protect your brakes and your gears. If you rack by your bars and you go to take that bike off, you might damage either one of those. And maybe you don't realize that the bikes, brakes have disengaged until you're going down a hill. You don't want that. So, so always by the seat. Oh, and also speaking of transition, when you go into transition, particularly for new athletes, they're going to check your brakes as you go in, make sure that both your brakes are working. And if not, you go over to bike support, and also to make sure that you have a plug on your handlebars. And I think I might even have a picture of that. So if you do, before you come to the race, check your handlebars right over here. If you see my arrow, there's a plug there. So you want to make sure that's plugged up. If you were to be in an accident and you fell onto your handlebars there, if there's not a plug, it can it can actually puncture your abdomen. We don't want that. So so that's why they always have to be plugged. If you run to your bike shop in the next couple of days, you check, you see you don't have it, your bike shop will be able to put those on. They're small. If someone charges you, they're not going to charge you a whole lot for it. We do have some at the race, but one of the races this summer, there were so many people without plugs, we ran out of them. And then you have to use a quarter and duct tape, and it looks terrible. It also takes a lot of time to be able to work that out.
Several questions about relay teams. You're going to go
yes,
through that?
I'm going to go through that. Let me answer Jordan's question though. Confirming that both transitions will happen in the same location. Yeah. So everyone's in that same transition area. Let's see if I can get back to it. There you, oh, wait, sorry, that was too far. I'm going to give up trying to find it. All right. So in the transition area, you have, there's a sign and there's a divider down the center. It's just big cones. So if you're in the Olympic, you're going to stay over towards the road. If you're in the sprint, you're going to stay towards the water. And then let me get back to.
There's dividers between the two sections, and there's signs clearly marking which side you should go on if you're an Olympic athlete, or which side if you're a sprint athlete.
Right. Right. Okay. So then some people have asked about like, well, what do you have at transition? How does that work? So you see that all of the belongings that you have are going to go to the right of your bike tire. So you put all of your things at the front of your bike. So you hang your bike onto the seat and it's facing you. And then all of your stuff goes to the right. And then everybody else does the same thing. So that, or supposedly everyone else does the same thing. And that way you kind of have your own little area. You have your bike shoes, or it might be your running shoes that you wear on your bike. That's fine too. You want to have your helmet out there, hat, sunglasses, your running bib, which you don't have to wear unless you're running. When you are running, it needs to be facing forward. And then you'll have your swim cap that you had with your swim and all that, all of your belongings and wetsuit. It all goes in that same little area. Please don't take your stuff off and just kind of toss it. Like sometimes you see a lot of like teenagers' rooms out there. People take their stuff and they throw it, and then they can't find their helmet later on, and they're like, someone took my helmet. Like, no, you tossed it and got kicked 4 times. So you want to keep all of your stuff close by and avoid buckets. So you see that this person has his bucket there, which seems like, oh, that's easy. I can keep everything there. The problem is sometimes that bucket gets kicked. It also gets in the way. So if you just have all your stuff, you might put it in a bag or something like that, but just keep it right there by your bike.
One thing about the run number. Your bike will have a number, of course. You'll have the body marks, so you'll have a number, but you will also receive a run number. Now, a lot of experienced triathletes, they have purchased somewhere along the way a run belt, and they actually attach the bib to that belt. And then it's kind of easy when they finish their bike ride, they can just take that belt and snap it on around their waist and off they go. But plenty of our athletes just pin their number to either their shirt or their shorts, and they just keep it for the entire race, and that's perfectly acceptable. The safety pins, do we give them automatically, or do you have to?
Yes, they'll be in your packet.
Okay.
The one caveat to that is sometimes I'll see somebody at the swim and they're wearing like a swimsuit or a tri-suit, and they have their number pinned right there, but they don't have a wetsuit on, and then they go in the water. That bib is going to be gone by the time they get out. The water's just going to take that away. So, whatever if you're pinning your bib, make it on something that is either going to be covered during the swim or you're going to throw on after the swim. Speaking of throwing things on, keep in mind that if you have a shirt that you plan on putting on after the swim, try that on a wet body before you get to the race, because you're going to find it's really hard to get on. So that way you can find a shirt that's going to be easy to get on a wet body.
For men, I would just say, get an oversized shirt that you have. If you're normally a large and you got an extra large or double XL, I would go with that and let it flap in the wind up when you're on the bike, because it's so hard to pull on a tight shirt.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so there's a few questions about the relay teams. So with a relay team, and I don't think I have a picture for you, so you're just gonna have to listen. So, if you have 3 people on the relay team, the best way to handle that, you've got the swim person, right? It's going to have this, the relay team. See, he's got a chip right here. That's a disposable chip. The relay teams are going to have a chip. It's like a little anklet with Velcro. So the swimmer's going to have that Velcro timing chip on first. They'll have their wetsuit or whatever it is that they want to use. They go out and they swim. Everyone can watch them. The other team members can watch. Just make sure to get back to transition. The bike person needs to get back to transition before the swimmer comes through. At the rack, you always make your transitions at the bike rack. So, and I think we actually have some separate racks for relays. Just look for a little sign on there. It'll say relay teams. That'll just make it easy for you guys. You're not getting in the way of the individual athletes. So it's just like 3 of you right there. So, you get back to your rack. The swimmer comes, transition the timing chip from the swimmer to the biker. Bike person takes off the helmet. Now, for all of you guys, your helmet needs to go on before your bike comes off the rack. So your helmet goes on your head, you clip it, then you can take your bike off. So that's a USAT rule. It's that way people don't run out without having a helmet on. So, once you've got your helmet on, you can grab your bike. I usually put on my sunglasses and stuff before I get my bike off. So the last thing I'm doing is grabbing that bike. So when you're in a relay team, you're acting kind of like you're kind of 3 people that are just doing it as one person, right? So the swimmer comes up, the bike, they transition your chip. The person on the bike is going to take the bike off, put on their helmet, right? Put on their glasses, and then off that biker goes. When they come back, you're going to do the same thing. The bike goes on the rack, helmet comes off, and then make sure to change your chip over, and then the runner can go. So the runner or the biker can't go until that whoever was racing before the swim or the bike is right there ready to go. You can't have like, okay, I'm over here, you can go. You got to be right there at the transition. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you?
Sure.
Oh, good. Okay. So if it doesn't make sense to somebody, then send me a note and I'll try to clarify a little bit.
That's the USAT rule on the helmet off, right?
You bet. That is a USAT rule.
You want to know the next question?
Sure.
All right. So Annette's wondering, her son doesn't know if he should enter as a newbie or as an age group. If I could take a crack at that. That's a decision that your son's going to have to make, or you and your son can talk about which way they want to go. I might suggest looking at the results of the Hyannis races, spring and fall, over the last few years. And you can kind of see how many people in his age group raced. And he might say, there's a chance here that because there aren't that many teenagers that I might do well, and I'd like to race in my age group. Of course, your son needs to realize as well, though, that by being out there in the mix, that you've got lots of people swimming around him. You've got lots of people passing him on the bike, or he's trying to pass people on the bike and things like that. So it is a little bit different than at the very end of the race, where the newbies are, where it's kind of everybody's sort of supporting each other because it's the first time for all of them, and no one's grabbing your leg and pulling you backwards on the swim.
We don't tell people that. So in the newbie waves, I think that Andy alluded to, the youth wave goes off. It's one of the very first swim waves. So if your son is a strong swimmer, that's a great spot, because then he's going to be able to, he doesn't have a whole lot of people in front of him. But if he's not a super strong swimmer, then keep in mind that all of these other people are going to be passing him in the water, which could be a little nerve-wracking. And then, of course, as Andy was saying, on the bike, he's also going to get passed by other age groupers that are older and might be able to move a little faster. And then that can be nerve-wracking as well. So the newbie wave goes off. It's one of the very last waves that go off. So yeah, you just don't usually have a lot of people passing you. And at the swim, at least, they're very friendly in the water.
But he cannot win an award for his age group if he goes in a different wave. Unfortunately, that's a USA Triathlon rule. So for someone in his age group to win the award, that person has to start the race with the age group. Of course, it's a time trial, so that within a few minutes of each other, people started. They're not starting at exactly the same time.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. Yes. So Anna, you're going to rack the bike wherever you took your bike from is where you're going to put it back. So you need to note where you put it or where you're taking it from. I don't know if I've got a picture of that. Oh, I do want to mention this, but sometimes it's hard to find where your bike goes back after, because you have your bike. And so you're in transition. There's lots of other bikes around, lots of people. And you're like, shoot, where's my stuff? Because all your stuff is wherever you took your bike from. So what I normally do is find a spot. Let's say if I'm in transition and I usually try to face the road, because if I'm looking across the street, there are signs, or there's a door of a house or something that I can say, okay, I'm going to put my bike opposite that door or that sign. Now, when I go from swim and I'm trying to find my bike, I know I can find that one door, and then I know my bike is going to be 3 rows over or whatever it is. So we found that for me, that I still do that. I did that one of my first triathlons, and I'm still doing that many years later. So you can do that, but you always want to make sure that you know where your bike is, because that's where your bike was is where you're putting it back. Mirrors are acceptable. You can have a mirror on your handlebar. It's no problem. All right, let's see what other questions we have. Wetsuits are not required, Luke.
And many of our athletes don't have wetsuits at these races, particularly the short sprint ones, and the water is in the upper 70s. So I would say don't buy a wetsuit for your first race. Maybe get used to the sport and see if you like it before you start spending money.
For sure. All right. Before we answer the other questions, I'm going to run through these slides so you can actually look at us, whether you want to or not, instead of a picture that's been sitting up there a while. So let me run through that real quick. So one of the things that we haven't said yet that we kind of take for granted is doing this for a long time is that in transition, bikes get walked in and they get walked out. You never ride your bike in transition. You don't get on your bike until you find outside of transition. There'll be a sign and there'll be people shouting at you that says mount. So you'll mount your bike there, and that's off. That's as soon as you get onto the road. And then when you finish your bike, before you get into transition, there'll also be a sign there that will say dismount. And there'll also be people that are shouting at you, and they'll say, dismount, dismount, dismount. So hop off your bike before you get to, there's usually a line or there's somebody there hop off your bike before you get there. So that way you're walking your bike into transition, and that just keeps everybody safe.
Another question
right
about,
there.
oh, sorry.
There. So yeah, I thought I had a sign, but I can't tell for sure in this. So so right here, so we see that she's gotten off her bike. He's getting ready to get off of his, and they're getting ready to go into transition. And there's Barb. You'll probably see her in the same exact spot for Hyannis too. She was just saying, off your bike, off your bike. And here they are. They got off their bike, and now they're going to run into transition here. And of course, there's that bike flag, bike in. And I'm going to take that off of. There you go. So now we're back to full screen. All right, let's answer any other questions. What do you have?
There's another question about the race belt. I think I explained that last, so you give it a try. It's whether a bib should be pinned or a race belt. You have to buy a race belt. You can buy it online. I think if Mary, who manages Marathon Sports in Yarmouth, is on, she might say whether or not they are selling them currently for a few bucks, or Justin, who manages Hanlon Sports, both of which are great running shoe stores, by the way.
Nice plug.
Support your local merchants.
So yeah, almost any running store is going to have the race belts, and that's saved many of my tri shirts, and not having to pin them. Okay, so physical USAT card. You don't have to have a physical card. If you guys are not aware, USAT actually has an app. So if you go to your, to your phone apps, there's a USA Triathlon, and you'll put in your account number, and your ID or your USAT card will actually come up on there. So just make sure you're logged in before you get to packet pickup. Because sometimes it will log me out, and then I'm like, oh shoot, and I got to go back in there. So just make sure that that's there. We need to see if you're an annual member, we need to actually see the number with your name. All right.
Are you allowed to do the bike and run without a shirt? We had mentioned this a little bit earlier. Yes, you are. And in fact, some of our most popular social media posts, for some reason, are of guys doing triathlon without a shirt on.
Right.
Why could that be?
Sometimes it's good for people, and sometimes it's just not good for everybody else. So use your best judgment. The question came up, Kim asked about the relays with wide ranges. It all works the same way. You guys are out there to have a good time. Just make sure that, you've gone through the athlete's guide, and you've looked at the USAT rules those are there to keep people safe. So, so that would be great. There's a lot of people, Shelby, that are nervous about the swim. Don't worry. If you are really nervous and you want to swim in the newbie wave, I don't care if you've done 5 triathlons. Still, if you are uncomfortable in the swim, join that wave. It's one of the last waves that goes off. The only one that goes off after that, which is usually combined with the last one, is the friends and family wave, because that really is like, hey, we're just doing this. We don't care.
Ask for a red cap if
yes.
you'd like a little extra attention from the lifeguards.
Oh, thank you for remembering that. I can't believe I forgot that.
Yeah, so you can ask that when you pick up your packet. And as someone who will be on the water, and Kathleen's a certified guard, so she won't be on the water probably.
Probably not,
but
maybe.
She jumps on too. All of us, the spotters, the guards, were perfectly thrilled if someone raises their hand or just sort of sculls over and says, can I hold on to your paddleboard for a while? No problem. We can't move you forward with the paddleboard, but you can just rest there until you get your breath back and head off again. And if at any point, and in every race, we have a few people who say, can I have a ride to shore? This is a little more than I expected, and we're happy to just kind of ease you into shore. You could still do the bike and the run, but we do ask that you let the timer know at the end, if not earlier.
Yeah, before you go on to the bike, the timer needs to know, and then you're technically disqualified. So you won't get any age group award or any of that. But some people just like to, I just want to see what this race, how this race works. And so you're able to continue in that way, but you're just not an official racer. There was a question about the swimmer buoys. If you have a safe swimmer buoy and you feel safer wearing it, then you want to be in the last wave. So send an email to us. And if you're not already in the newbie wave, we'll put you in that. Just that way you don't clothesline somebody in your age group. We want to keep safe. And actually, for the record, USAT doesn't allow swim buoys. We do at our race because we find that your safety is more important. And not that they don't care about safety, they do. But they consider a flotation device. Now, if you use one, you realize you can't float with it unless you're actually hanging on to it, in which case you're not swimming. But that is a battle that I will wage later this winter. For our races, you can use a safe swimmer buoy. If you do other races, they might not allow you to do it, but for us, that's no problem.
Okay. Luke is wondering about the swim cap. Luke, you get a swim cap as part of your race packet. And we do mandate that you wear the swim cap. And the reason is because it's colorful and the guards can see it. The nightmare for a guard is that, someone with dark hair is in dark water and they can't see them. So you must wear the swim cap that you receive. If you have a latex allergy, you can wear your own swim cap.
Right. So I think that Andy answered Jordan. Unless you have a latex allergy, please wear a swim cap because the swim caps are based on waves, and so it helps the lifeguards to know if you've got a bunch of blue swim caps that are out there, and there's someone with a green swim cap. They might have been coming from a wave that was much earlier, in which case the lifeguards are going to put a little extra attention on them to make sure that person's okay. So if you've got like a different color than everybody else, then that kind of messes up that system. It's just a way of us trying to make sure that you are as safe as possible in the water. And speaking of water, Meredith, you can wear earplugs in the water, no problem at all.
There's a registration issue. If someone registered for the newbie wave, can they switch into age group? That's
sure, no problem. But you need to let me know by tomorrow at 5, because that's when I get the information over to the timers. Otherwise, you're going to have to stand in the packet pickup line to pick up your packet, and then you're going to have to get in the help desk line in order to change your category, and it will just save you that trouble. So if anyone has any issues like that you're like, oh, I want to change from Olympic to sprint, or sprint to Olympic, or from newbie to age group, or vice versa, whatever it is, you want to make sure that I know that before 5 p.m. tomorrow. And please don't all wait till 4:30. So that's info@meevents.com. You can also go on our website. When you hit that contact form, it's coming to me. So either Lori or I will take care of that for you, but please do it before online registration closes.
Do you have the swim course map handy for the Olympic? Just to answer Nitin's question.
Sure. Let me answer Rachel's first, and then I'll back up. Rachel, if you didn't remember signing up for anything, you're probably an age group. It automatically defaults to age group for me. Sometimes people don't check that, and that's typically what everyone does is age group. If you want to be a newbie, or there's Clydesdale, Athena. Well, Clydesdale not for you. You would want Athena, or elite, or any of that. Like there's other categories. So if you want something other than age group, then please let me know. Hang on just a second. I'm going to back up. You keep talking, and I'm going to.
Okay. So the Olympic swimmers, you'll enter in the water. Along with 2 others, leaving at 10-second intervals. You'll head for the first yellow triangular buoy. You will go around it. It's about 80 yards off from the shore. You will make a right turn around that buoy, and you will follow the coastline, and you will see
there you go.
Some conical shaped buoys. We need to get a picture of those buoys, but you'll see some buoys sticking about 4 or 5 feet out of the water, and they're tall and narrow. And those are your sighting buoys. So you won't turn around any of them. You just, okay, good, I can go on to this next one. Okay, and now I'll go on to the next one. And you go down till you get to another yellow triangular buoy. And that's going to be at the far end of the beach. You're going to go around that, leaving it on your right. and you'll be getting close to shore now. You're swimming towards shore, and you're about 40 feet away from shore, or 40 yards away from shore, and you'll make another right around a triangle buoy. And then you will swim to one last triangular buoy close to shore and close to the finish line. And you should be able to see the big red arch that is the swim finish line. It's quite tall. It must be about 20 feet high. You're going to see
You
it.
can't miss that.
And once you get around that last buoy, you make a beeline for the shore, and you'll go through that red arch. And there'll be fencing and conage and everything else. You'll know exactly where to run along the beach as you get to the parking lot. And when you get into the parking lot, that's when you have to say to yourself, now, where do I put my bike? And go find it.
Right. And Scott has your fancy map. Do you have your fancy map that you just gave Scott? He was going to show that.
Oh, Scott
Is that
has
a little
it.
bit too technical?
Yeah, it's a map that we use working with the harbor master and the beach personnel, but we can show it. Scott can show it if you want to share.
Yeah.
Scott's
So
screen.
Scott, you've got there we go. Thanks. All right. So this is their fancy map. So just as Andy was telling you, you're going from the start, you're going around like this. Actually, that makes that hard for them to understand. There we go.
Yeah, this map doesn't show the arrows that you will follow. Instead, these maps are actually showing measurements. It's really meant more for the course setup ahead of time. But we should adjust this maybe for next year so that it's a new race map. But it was only recently that we got permission to use that beach at the far right for this race. So sprint, you can see it's just 4 orange buoys.
Scott's doing his little drawings.
Nice,
there
Scott.
We go. Thank you, Scott.
And you just swim from the start, and you go out to the first orange buoy, and then you find the next one, the next one, the next one, and then you go in
For the sprint.
to the red
That's
arch.
easy
That's
enough.
the sprint.
Sprint's easy.
Yeah. Now the Olympic, you're starting in the same area. And of course, you started a half hour earlier because you are an Olympic athlete, and you'll head out to the triangular buoy, and then you'll follow the roundish high cylindrical buoys, 4 of them, until you get to the next yellow triangular buoy. Go around that. The water is shallow in here. We'll be at mid tide. It is possible as you get to the triangular buoy that's close to shore that you may actually be able to stand and rest for a minute, but no promises if you need to.
Yeah.
And then you'll swim along the shore in a relatively shallow area.
There we go. Scott's got his arrow going there. So you'll follow his
Scott's,
pencil.
Yeah. And now you'll go around this triangular buoy to your left and shoot into shore.
Right. So keep in mind that you want the buoys to be on your right shoulder, except for that last one, right?
Correct.
Okay. And the last one's going on your left. So the idea is that the buoys are kind of keeping you from shortening the course, right? So, so you'll want to do that. If you are in the sprint distance, you can do the same thing. Keep those buoys on your right. And I think that Rachel, you also had another question. I'm not sure what it was. I just lost it. But Sean, you also asked a question about the, never mind, somebody did, about the bike course. Bike and run courses are marked. There are volunteers at every turn. Thanks, Scott. But sometimes people have like their race brains on, and so they don't hear anything. They're kind of like in this like tunnel vision. So just be mindful, like listen, look for signs. If you know the course, you look at a map, drive it the day before or the morning before, drive the course. And that way you'll have a better idea, because sometimes when you get on your bike or you're ready to run, like you're just not thinking about it. And you end up making a wrong turn, even though there's people shouting at you to go a different way. So drive the course. There's nothing wrong with that.
How well should we know the bike and run route?
That's what I just went
through. You just did that,
yeah.
Right? Okay.
The swim map, if you go to the athlete's guide, There's a map of the course. There's also a swim map. So it's not going to be as fancy as what Scott was just showing with like how many yards from the shore, but those are so that way they can mark buoys. There is a map that that it's similar to one that I'd shown you before, so that might be helpful.
The map is embedded in the athlete's guide. It also has 3 links as you read the critical information. You'll see the links leading to that map. And there's also, if you click on the map or click on the links, it is a printable PDF, so you can actually send it to your printer if you wanted to, and make it your bedtime reading tonight.
Ooh, that sounds like fun. Okay, so so Sean, let me clarify for you. That was the one I looked at before. When Andy said, "Oh, you could stand in the swim," that's you can stand. You can't walk. You have to. If you are moving forward in the water, it needs to be by swimming. So no walking. You can stand for a second if you so wish. I wouldn't do it. It's just going to take you that much more time. But you could, you could stand for a second if you're like, I'm really out of breath. I want to stand. Do that. Although somebody might swim behind you.
And I apologize for saying that. But what I wanted you was to not be surprised if you saw sand and you thought, wait a minute, I could probably stand up here if I wanted to. We have 3 options basically for the swim. We can do multiple loops, and this race used to have 2.5 loops, and that stayed in deep water. But the problem is you're doing these loops and it's people going in different directions, and we found it was difficult for the athletes to feel comfortable and to understand, and we had to worry about traffic management. The other option, which is also not a good option, is to swim way out into the sound, out into Nantucket Sound, and be pretty far from shore, and it can be very daunting, and there's safety concerns that we have because we like having all the athletes fairly close to shore. So we have this course now that we're really happy with, but nothing's perfect. And one of the things about this course is when you get to the far end, the water is shallow. Well, it can be shallow, particularly at low tide. But you know what? It's perfectly clean sand. You won't be standing on eelgrass or rocks or crabs or any of that sort of thing. It's if you do stand for a moment.
Right, but you don't have to, and I wouldn't, but some people might. So sorry, Rachel, when I was looking at that, I had lost the email that you had. The question or the chat, your question about there is no newbie relay team. So there's the newbie individual for Olympic or for sprint, or there's relay teams, and there's co-ed, male or female relay teams. So you won't be able to do a newbie relay team. There are a lot of relay team members that are all newbies. That's a big way of people getting into the sport. You kind of try it and you see that it's a lot of fun and you do it yourself. It looks like we've got another question. Let me see. So as far as newbies, I think we kind of covered that a little bit as far as, do you want to be in the newbie wave? Really, that's for the swim, that's probably your biggest advantage. If you're uncomfortable on the swim, then you're in the newbie wave, you're less likely to be swam over. As Andy mentioned, the infamous someone grabs your ankle and pulls you back.
That doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen very often, right? But it does.
Except
happen.
In the 60+ groups.
Right. Yeah. The 60+ men, those guys are tough. But in the newbie wave, it's like people are more apt to be mindful of each other. You guys are all new. And usually if someone bumps into you, they go, oh, sorry. And they keep swimming. In the age group, that doesn't happen. They bump into you and they're like, get out of my way, So that's up to you. The other advantage, if you're in your age group and you're a really strong cyclist, then you don't have as many people to pass because you're a little farther along, particularly if you're younger in your age group, because the way that our swim waves work is paratriathlete goes first. And then we've got like aquabike and relay and Clydesdale and Athena's. All of those smaller categories go early on. This is for the sprint. They go first, and then we start with the ages, and it goes from youngest to oldest. So, if you're 20 something and, you're a really strong cyclist, then you're going to be ahead of a lot of other cyclists, where if you're 60 something and you're a really strong cyclist in your age group, you've got to pass a whole bunch of people. So sometimes that, I don't know if that makes complete sense to you till you're out in the course, but so newbie wave or not newbie wave is up to you. Usually it's determined by how comfortable you are in the water. If you're not that comfortable, ask for a red cap. And then you can also be in the newbie wave, but you need to let us know that beforehand.
There are awards for the newbie wave, but the thing is, if you're in a different age group than the winner of the newbie wave, there's no differentiation.
Right. So the awards are like 1 through 3 newbies, female, male. Where age group, it's going to be every 5 years. So if you're like, I have a chance to win an award, well, that might make a determination as far as what wave you want to be in.
And we have had newbies or people who are new to triathlon who entered in the age group category and reached the podium. It happens on a regular basis, but it's something, it's a personal decision.
Right. There we go. Okay. Do we have any other questions? I think we've gone through the chat. I think that we've gotten to everybody. If we haven't answered your questions, throw a quick note up in chat and let us know. Oh, there we go. Oh, thanks so much, Kim. I think that's it. So we look forward to seeing you guys either Friday at Packet Pickup or at Trisha's swim clinic, which is at 5:30. Or we'll see you Saturday morning. Transition opens at, I believe it's 5:30. Check the athlete's guide to be sure. We're there at like 3:30. So sometimes I forget what time you guys are supposed to be there. Remember, there's no award ceremony, no yoga, and no spectators if we can at all help it. But we will have awards via email, and it's certificate and a gift code. So I think that's it. Remember, Bay Lane is the spot where the Olympic athletes are doing a loop. So if you're an Olympic athlete, be mindful of those people as you're coming back onto the course. If you're on the course, be mindful that somebody's coming from your left. And let's see, anything else? Olympic race starts at 7 a.m. Sprint starts at 7:30. Now I'm going through my notes here. Body marking we talked about. Water temp. Andy's going to check tomorrow. We'll let you know. And I think that's it. Okay.
Kathleen's
Thanks
very
so
sad that this is ending. She's looking for ways of keeping it going.
I do love talking to you guys. And as you'll find out on race morning.
We're heading for Chinese food. We hope you all have a good night.
Yes. We hope you have a good night. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.